Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Wednesday, the 29th of March, 2023. We thought we'd take a quick look as to what's happening to the markets, bearing in mind we have an important economic data day on Friday coming out of the United States, the PCE figures. So what's happening to gold and silver before that announcement? Let's discover together. Okay, before we look at the data, just a quick reminder that we have set up a second channel called Finances Do Matter, and we've placed a link to this both in the description box below and in the comment section. We urge you to go across there, hopefully sign up. What I mean by that is subscribe, and perhaps comment on some of the videos that are already there. We're going to be producing 3 or 4 videos on Finances Do Matter each week, and we hope you'll enjoy them. Let's now see what's happening in the markets. Okay, let's go straight to gold and see what's happened. Now, we closed on Friday at $1,979. Then, when the markets opened on Monday, well, Sunday night, Monday, we can see there was quite a substantial fall. Then a recovery, another dip, then a recovery, another dip, and then a small recovery. So we now have gold at $1962. That's down $17. Now you may very well ask, why is that? And the answer is there was an expectation that the bank contagion, the run on the banks, would continue running through Monday and Tuesday, and it didn't happen. And so whilst the markets tried to blip up initially, when they saw that there was no panic, then of course those who had invested in gold the sort of week before, worried about what was going to happen, either started to sell or traders just didn't follow through with the buying. But there's plenty of time for that yet. Looking at silver, we can see silver's had a similar sort of fate, except that it's performed better, because silver closed last week at 23.24 and it's now 23.21, so it's within 3 cents of Friday's close. It's been lower. It had quite an odd spike there, I'm not quite sure what caused that, and now it's sort of meandering at this level. So we've got a scenario currently whereby, ahead of Friday's PCE figures, the markets are not really doing that much. There is some slight toing and froing, but overall it's pretty unchanged. Similarly with the US dollar, that's 102, this is dollar index 0.7. Although it's up these 24 hours, it did slightly dip down. And of course, cryptocurrency is actually holding up quite well, doing up 5%. They've had a bit of a hammering, but they're up 5%. If we look at equity markets in Asia Pacific overnight, they were up on average 1.5%. At the moment, our markets are still open in the UK and Europe as a whole, and they're up again somewhere between 1 and nearly 1.5%. And the Dow Jones, let's have a look. Is that open? Yes, that is open now. And we can see the Dow is up 0.5%. The S&P marginally down, but the Nasdaq is up 1.3% so far. So it's still early days and it's still early trading. We've some economic news, not an awful lot, but pending US home sales have come through. -3% is the forecast. We haven't actually got the actual announcement yet. That's pending, but the advanced US trade balance in goods was down 91.6 billion, really no different to the previous month. And frankly, even the US consumer confidence index, though it's a bit higher than what we were expecting it to be, it was very similar to February's. Tomorrow we've got some data in terms of the jobless claims, and we have a number of Fed presidents actually speaking, but it's Friday, that's the key day. where we have the PCE indices coming out, and the expectation, personal income is 0.2%, PCE index 0.4%, these are the expectations, core PCE 4.7%, and we'll see how close they end up compared with anticipation. We're expecting a little bit of movement tomorrow in advance of these figures, and then depending on how these pan out will dictate which way the markets will move. Now, we've already highlighted this in our weekly update, so if you haven't listened to that, once again we've put a link in the description box below. This is what we published on Saturday. And just rushing over very briefly to Bloomberg, which published literally an hour ago, they basically say stocks rose with US index futures as a rally in Chinese tech shares boosted sentiment and concern about contagion from the banking turmoil continued to wane, which is what I said at the start of this video. Sentiment for the sector got a boost as Alibaba Group Holdings' massive overhaul plan sparked optimism about a recovery in Chinese tech companies that was stung by a crackdown from Beijing over the last 2 years. And we've seen the Hang Seng Tech Index rise by 2.5%. And as I mentioned, the other indices are between 1 and 1.5%. Bank shares outperformed in Europe, with UBS Group rising after the Swiss lender brought back a former CEO to oversee the acquisition of Credit Suisse Group. What a difference that can make. And finally, treasuries fell and the dollar rose slightly as investors awaited remarks from the Federal Reserve's officials and economic releases this week for clues on monetary policy. Don't forget those statements made by the various Fed presidents that I alluded to earlier, which will come out tomorrow. You're looking at 12:45 Eastern Time and 1 o'clock Eastern Time. They will give an indication. Most people seem to ignore these people. It's not a good idea to do so. They will give you some indication of where they believe prices are going to move in terms of interest rates going forward. Well, that's more or less it. I'll have a quick look for those, because a few people have asked me about platinum and palladium, and just very, very quickly, the platinum price actually has taken quite a dive compared to Friday. It was $988, it's $968. It admittedly $20 is not a fortune, but it's going down rather than, as we saw with gold and silver, sort of dipping and then recovering a little. And palladium is $1,442. It closed at 1,447, so that's acting similarly to gold and silver. It did fall, recovered a bit, fell, recovered, fell, and is recovering again. What's interesting, those who do follow platinum, I always remember as a child, it was the sort of order of merit in terms of precious metals. Always seemed to be, you started off with silver, you advanced to gold, but if you were extremely wealthy, you then moved to platinum. That's not the case today, with platinum at $969, and we see gold trading at $1,965. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign if you haven't already done so. And just a final reminder, please head on over to Finances Do Matter, links below, and subscribe. We've got a lot coming up on that channel. Thank you again for listening.